My friends, here is our comparison between the Sony 24-70 F2.8 G Master Mark I and the Mark II over here. We're gonna do a quick comparison to get to the bottom of which one you should be really considering. Of course, one's gonna be more expensive because it's newer, and when the newer thing comes out, the other one drops in price. So is it worth that difference in price for the most part, and how much better does it perform? Well, I'll give you my thoughts here after using these lenses for a while. First of all, let's look at the first one here. In fact, I'll pop the specs of both lenses up here for you to have a look. There is some significant differences. Mainly, the weight is substantially different. The size overall is actually a big difference. So if you're carrying around these two every single day, all day, well, this one's gonna be a lot better of an experience. So the original is going to be great feeling, great looking, and it's gonna have a few less of the bells and whistles that the Mark II has. On the Mark I, we're gonna have just our zoom ring at the back here, same thing as the Mark II. We've got our same really feeling and performing manual focus here, about the same in my experience. As far as buttons and switches are concerned, we've got one focus hold button here on the Mark I, we have two on the Mark II, and we have an automatic manual focus switch here, as well as a little lock switch here to help with creeping on the Mark I. They're both weather sealed. They both have, of course, the coatings that you're looking for to help with ghosting and flare. And now let's have a look at the Mark II and see how it kind of differs. Well, the feel and the look of it is a little bit different. It's got a lot packed into this thing. It doesn't feel quite as rugged to me. And again, it's a smaller lens, so maybe that's just why. Just less heft to it, significantly lighter, almost 200 grams lighter, which is just fantastic if you ask me. But we'll check out performance later to see if anything got sacrificed. In terms of buttons and switches and whatnot on the Mark II, it's the same thing as far as the focus ring and the zoom ring. The focus ring is a linear focusing ring, and it feels really good, really nice and accurate, that we'll see in a little bit here. The zoom ring is pretty much the same throw. It might be just a tiny bit less, but it's very, very comparable. Now, in terms of the actual buttons and switches, we've got that automatic manual focus switch, and not one, but two customizable focus hold buttons like I mentioned. Now, above and beyond that, we've got an iris lock, and that's gonna be for the additional aperture ring that the Mark I does not have. So if you're a video shooter, or if you're into that, you want precise control over your aperture, well, you have that right on your lens, which is really nice. You also have the ability to use hard stops by using that click on or off here. Other than that, it's the same 82mm filter threads on the front here. The proprietary coatings are gonna be a little bit different, probably upgraded in this case, as this guy is a few years old now. On the back, we've got the same metal mount and a nice rubber gasket for confidence in weather sealing. And they're both well weather sealed. I haven't had an issue with either, and I doubt that I would. So that is the build and features. Of course, the Mark II does have the edge in terms of that. And yeah, you're gonna pay more. It's a newer lens, to be expected. Yeah, Mark II wins in the build and features.
And from my full in-depth review, here's a look at the G Master Mark I in terms of performance. And this is such a great focal length to shoot just about everything. A standard focal length like a 24-70 is going to cover you in most shooting situations. With 9 aperture blades, it's going to produce some beautiful creamy out of focus backgrounds and transitions. And the overall image quality and character that you get with this lens is nothing short of what you'd expect out of a G Master. Amazing. At 70mm, it's enough to get some nice portraits and have some decent compression. At 24mm, it's wide enough to get some really nice and interesting landscape shots. Here's a look at the bokeh quality at 24mm wide open at f2.8, and here we are at 70mm. In terms of autofocus, it's going to be great for photos as well as videos. Now, this lens does utilize Sony's older direct drive SSM autofocus motors, not the newer and faster linear XD motors that we're used to these days, but it does keep up phenomenally quick whether you're shooting with photos or videos. It's going to be lightning fast, accurate, and basically silent. Here's a few video examples. Throw an ND filter on and rest assured that this lens can give you some beautiful professional quality video. Even in low light wide open at f2.8, this thing tracks well and is confident in its accuracy. And here's a look at how the G Master Mark II performs. And first we'll look at some photo examples. I can tell you that this lens does produce some absolutely beautiful results no matter what you're shooting. With 11 aperture blades and that fast f2.8 aperture, it produces some magnificent out of focus backgrounds and transitions. Colors are vibrant and it's incredibly sharp. I mentioned that it's not the most exciting focal length these days, but for a classic standard zoom lens, this 24-70 won't let you down in most average shooting situations. 70mm is a nice focal length for portraits and will give you some decent compression, where 24mm is wide enough to get things like landscapes and even some indoor shots if need be. I hope you like my photo examples, and if you've gotten this far, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. We will do a deep dive into the sharpness and optics of this lens later, but for now let's have a look at its impressive minimum focus distance, which is an upgrade over the original G Master. On the wide end, you can get as close as 8.2 inches to your subject, and this lets you get really up close and personal, and this is kind of what you're looking at here. On the telephoto side of things, you're looking at just under a foot, which is still completely respectable. For me, a close minimum focus distance really adds to the versatility of a lens. Now you've seen how close you can get, but here's a look at the entire focal range from 24mm all the way up to 105mm that you can get when you do throw this lens into crop mode on your camera. And here's a look at the autofocus performance, which is nothing short of amazing, with 4 XD linear motors contributing to a greatly improved focusing speed and performance over its predecessor. This lens will easily keep up to the fastest shooting cameras capable of 30 frames per second. Here's a look at a series of photos shot on my Sony a7 IV at 10 frames per second. In this case, it's basically a flawless performance. Even in some high contrast lighting here, it keeps up phenomenally well. And here's a quick sharpness comparison between the two. This is at 24mm wide open at f2.8. The center of the image is not going to be a problem for either lens. They're both ample sharp, but what about the corners? And here in the corners wide open, it's a great performance from both, but the edge definitely goes to the Mark II, unsurprisingly. Again, no deal breakers here at 24mm wide open. And here's a look stopped down to about f8. As you can see, the center of the image for both, again, definitely no problems, razor sharp, but what about the corners? Here at 24mm at f8, for me, surprisingly, it looks like the edge goes to the Mark I a little bit. Both lenses are going to perform great, but there might be just a hint more chromatic aberration with the Mark I as well. So, give or take, no deal breakers. And here we are at 70mm now, wide open at f2.8. The center of the image of both is going to be great, but the edge definitely goes to the Mark II here, which is just razor sharp in comparison. And here we are in the corners wide open at f2.8. As you can see, the clear winner here is going to be the G Master Mark II, where the original does kind of fall apart just a little bit. And stop down to f8 once again. The center of the image for both lenses is going to be very good. No complaints there whatsoever. Maybe just a hint more chromatic aberration in the Mark I. And let's check out the corners. And here we are in the corners at f8. It's a very good performance for both lenses, but for me, again, the edge is going to go just slightly to the GM Mark II. So as you can see, regardless of whether you're wide open or stop down, both of these lenses are going to be great performers, but overall, unsurprisingly, the edge is going to go to the Mark II. So overall, for the sharpness and the optics, of course it's going to go to the newer and more expensive lens, but the Mark I is definitely no slouch either. Here's a comparison just for fun of the size with the Sigma 24-70 thrown in there.
So there you go, guys. There's my thoughts on these two lenses. If you can afford the Mark II, that might be a better option because, well, it's just a better package and a better lens. Big surprise. But this thing is no slouch either. If you find this thing on sale or used, this is still going to be a great pickup here in whatever year it is. So guys, I hope you liked this video and it helped you out. If it did, hit that like and subscribe button. If you did want to buy either of these lenses, I'll drop affiliate links down below. And like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.